Okay, folks, and it's horse racing again to end the day with. This should be 2 of 2. It's ended up being 3 of 3 because I slipped an extra video in there regarding the tote. And one of our followers who's asked me on a couple of occasions, what would I do about taking tips, horse racing tips, of a trainer? If you've never seen that one, have a listen to that, because I think there's a funny story in there that I've told about a trainer I once met a few years ago. Let me know if you've not yet seen it, if you knew who it was before I got to the guy's name. Right. Again now, on our ongoing saga with me venting my anger about the bookies and you telling your own stories about the bookies, I've got 2 or 3 things here that I'll read to you. One came through early this morning and a couple in the last hour, to be honest with you. Comments more than stories. And I did mention on the last video, I've also got a couple of interesting things on the emails. A couple of emails have come into me. One I'm very, very interested in. I need to read it again to digest it, and I'm going to speak to the person over the next couple of days, and we'll see that where that takes us. But I'm going to report everything within it to you over the next couple of days. Don't worry about that. As I said yesterday, folks, if you can, if you see this, thumbs up it if you can. I never ask, but we do need more people to see it. And as I say, it's not for me to earn. It's always we can get more and more and more people in our gang letting one another know how we feel about various bookmakers and putting people right. And letting each other know that we're not the only ones getting done, because I think most everybody out there is getting done, and I really do. Anyway, I've got a couple of quick comments, and then I've got a story for you that somebody messaged me earlier, and I'll give you my reply as well. Right, Clogger, he's messaged in the last hour. He said, the way it's going at the moment with bookmakers, we're going to end up with an illegal bookmaker in every town taking bets in the pubs. And I thought, you know what? You're probably right. We had one in our town. Mr. Sutcliffe, not so long ago, well, I'll say not so long ago, he died a couple of years ago now, but he was taking bets for 30, 40 years, been arrested many times, but it was always worth doing a bit of a night or two inside Clink because of how much he was making. He was in the major pubs and clubs around Warrington, everybody knew where he was. He'd take a bet, he'd stand a bet to a good few quid and that good odds, never did anybody. He was fine. But that was at a time when the bookies weren't quite as bad as they are now. As bad as they're getting now, that may well happen. We talk about black market sites, that's where you're betting in Asia or wherever else. Doing it this way with the man in the pub who you can give your money to and you can hang around until the finish of the race and go back for your money, I think that might be the way we might be going, folks. Kev said to me about chasing your money on this bet, the Willie Mill one that started this. Again, let me say, I've got my money, Kevin. Tell everybody, I've got my money. I did a follow-up video the day or 2 days later to say I finally got it. For all the whole of the process was crap, I got it in the end. But Kev said, why didn't you call head office and speak to management? He said, because obviously your bet was a winner. Kevin, you try it. Try to ring anywhere on a phone now. Any bookmakers at all. They don't pick up. Nobody picks up. Everything, Kevin, is live chat. It's live chat, live chat, live chat. And when it's not live chat, it's email. It's absolutely crap. And it's only when you're doing live chat, you realise how crappy these people are at the other end of the keyboard. Because as I say, I was dealt with by 1 or 2 people who were crap. Then they put me onto a supervisor who was just as bad or worse. And I'm thinking, how on earth can a supervisor be supervising people that don't know what they're talking about and he or she doesn't know it themselves? Well, I know how it can happen, because if the supervisor doesn't know it, the minions underneath him aren't going to know it, and they didn't. Nobody knew what they were on about, and nobody was listening to what I was saying. It was crazy. So no, phoning isn't an option, Kevin. As I said yesterday, I think up until 3 or 4 months ago, I've spoken to somebody over the phone at SpreadX, at Boyle Sports, and I think at Unibet, that was about 6 months ago. I've closed my account at SpreadX because they want all information, which I'm not prepared to give. And I've not had a bet with Boyle Sports or Unibet for a good while now. So I've had no reason to call in, but at least they still accepted calls. They're the only two the only 2 big bookmakers I know that you can speak to on a phone. And they may even have changed. It's just crazy. Alan messaged earlier today, bookmakers originated from street gangsters. And I said, well, that might not be the case with everybody, but it was many gangsters running the bookies there. What you're trying to say, Alan, that he's trying to say they've all reverted to type, because at the moment I think bookmakers are just that, the gangsters. It's their way or the highway, and unfortunately it's always their way. But I'll give you another message I got earlier. This isn't really about bookmakers as such. This is about the scores on the doors that we do daily and the tipsters that we push on YouTube and the ones that we're against. And it came off Gaz, and it was a nice email, a nice comment, Gaz. I liked it. So let me read what Gaz has put for those that haven't seen it, and I'll tell you what my reply was. He said, it's great what you're doing, but real profit and loss are when you're keeping real figures. He said, the Irish guys' bets are from the night before, so them prices are gone quick. The 7-2 ends up becoming 5-2 by the next morning, most of the time. To be honest with you, he's a great guy, and he shows that most of his bets are gone. He said, I'm right. He said, Jeff Lawton, he said, well, yes, he went from minus 20.48 points this week, but has got it back to minus 4.27 points. He said, and I agree, it's a lot of money to pay for even money bets, but we will see how he goes. If he ends up being 300 points up at the end of the year, then it's okay from me to pay to get his bets, which I understand. And then he says, that Peter giving the same type of bets for free. Yes, he's done great, but only for a short period. What happened before? The people were commenting he was losing money, so you have to be careful, but well done. Now, the Irish guy I mentioned was Mickey D. What he's saying, he gives a price the night before, but often the next morning when people are betting, the prices have gone. I get that, and I'll go through my reply in a moment. He's mentioning Jeff Lawton, who we've brought up on a couple of occasions, not really gone for him yet, and I've decided today, funnily enough, not to at this stage. He says, well, he was way down, he's now not as much down, but he's saying, I don't mind paying for tips off somebody if at the end of the year they're well up. And I get where you're coming from, Gaz, I don't disagree. And then the Peter he's on about is our good friend Peter Fillingham. He's saying that before he went on this little run where he's won money, he was well behind. Obviously, Gaz wasn't following when he was behind. Gaz, what he was doing was he was betting horses at varying prices, normally 4, 5, 6, 8 to 1. And they were his bets that he was given as a free bet on a daily basis. And he was doing something, a comparison with favourites. He was putting a favourite or two every day at the bottom of his free bets. But he wasn't saying, that's for you to bet, folks. These are the bets I'm giving as my free bets. But I'm doing a comparison and I'm picking a favourite most every day. And we'll see how the favourites compare to the bets I'm giving. And he said, I think with the bets I'm giving, they're going to outperform the favourites. But I may be wrong. We'll do it as an exercise. And when I first started watching him at the start of the year, he had a good week or two. Then he hit dodgy waters. And he was sinking. It was going badly. It was a few £100 down, but that's to a £40 stake. He was well down, but the favourites were outperforming him well. So then he said, "Look, I'm knocking my normal bets on the head now. The favourites are doing even better than I thought. So we're going to run with his favourites and see how it goes." And that's how it went. And within 2 days of him saying that, I think he gave 4 or 5 favourites one day, and every single one of them won, which was unbelievable. He's never done it before. He's never done it since. He's probably never done it before. He might not do it again. But he's been a little bit up and down since. He's had good days. He's had bad days. The odd day he doesn't even do a bet. If there's not a bet there, he won't do one. But over the 50 odd days, he's still 900 odd quid up. Yes, it's to a £40 stake. But if you do it to a £10 stake, that puts you over 200 quid up, which isn't too bad. But this was my reply to what Gaz had messaged me. Because I think it's important, this. Take everything in context. I put to Gaz, I appreciate all you say, but what I will say is Mickey has a large community. He's got about 6,000 people, Gaz. And you will find that within an hour of him offering his selections, anything between about 600 and 1,000 people will have watched his video. That's at night time, at 9, half 8, 9, 10 o'clock, whatever it may have been. So those wanting the early prices will be getting on then. So plenty will get on at those prices. So they're getting the quoted prices, many of them. And I put, as for Peter, yes, he was on a losing run with his bigger priced horses, but he was open and honest about how things were going because he kept telling us whether they were performing good or bad. And yes, he's now on a winning run with the favourites. I put, it's spluttered a little of late, but he is in front. I think you might be missing one point here, guys, I carried on to say, and that is that neither is asking for any money, and Jeff Lawton is asking for money. And I've put, it's strange that, because if you listen to Jeff talk, when Jeff talks about himself, he says if you listen to Jeff talk about himself, you would guess he was the one out of the three of them that doesn't need our money, but he's asking for it anyway. And at 40 quid a week, it's pretty heavy-ish going, I would suggest, especially when he's only backing favourites daily, and especially when most days they're not winning. And the other thing I would also say, the other two, that's Peter Fillingham and Mickey D, both have the comment section open, and it's always open. I've just looked at one of Jeff's videos, which I did this morning when I tapped this reply, and it says on it, comments turned off. Why, I ask myself. And I know that Holden, that's Holden Sources, Neil Maurice, Watchman and Peter Sandowitz Sandrovich, all of their comments turned off. Thus, for me, I have Jeff Lawton more in their camps as opposed to Peter Fillingham and Mickey D. But I would love Jeff Lawton to prove me wrong. You know, I would love him to prove me wrong. But as I say, when you get people with the comment section turned off, you tend to think, what are they hiding? Why are they not letting the people that are buying the bets go on there and let us know how they're performing? It's a bit different with Jeff Lawton's because I've mentioned it on an earlier video today. At least with him, he's giving the bets early on, and he's saying if you want to pay for them, you can get them before 9 o'clock and get a better price, but it's going to cost you. But if not, I'm giving him after 9, and the prices are more often than not coming in, which I get. But the thing is with Jeff, you're just paying for them same horses, so we really know on a daily basis how he's performing. The other fellas, they have things like emerald bets and crossbow bets and strongbow bets and woodpecker bets. No, that's another problem. Cider, it's nothing to do with woodpecker or mangoes, anything like that. Forget the cider link, nothing. But emerald bets, gate pass bets, double dippers. They've all got these things where they bring you in, and when you're in there, they have all different kinds of bets. One on, you said a platinum bet and all of that. Well, you see, with Peter and with Mickey, they just have the 3 or 4 horses they're going to pick every day, and that's the bets. Jeff Lawton does it the same as well, so we sort of know where we are with Jeff that way. So I've decided over the coming weeks we're not going to look at asking for more clarity of him and a profit and loss like we're going to ask Holden's horses for, because he's one of the guys that's got all this myriad of bets when he brings people in, and we don't know how they're performing, and I think that's unfair to the people that come on YouTube and are looking at these YouTube tipsters. So I hope that answered your question, guys, when I sent it earlier. But I thought it's something we could read to our folk as well. So, you know, that's the reason we push the 2 channels we push. And that'd be Peter and Mickey D. And I've said earlier today, we're also going to mention to folk the Glorious Uncertainty and Connor 500 as well going forward. And as long as they keep the copybook clean, we're going to keep mentioning those. If they go the same way and start charging and have loads and loads of different bets and we know nothing about how they're performing, then they're going to go on the naughty step with Holden's horses, Peter Sandrovich, Watchman Racing, and et al. Okay? And that is it. When I find out how to turn this off, I've got to get to it first, I'll turn it off. So that's where we're at. So just give you a bit of flavour what the bookies are doing, what we're doing on a daily basis with our YouTube tipsters, and it gives you a few thoughts of what some of our listeners, watchers rather than listeners, because you can actually see me, can't you? What they're thinking about the high street bookmakers at this moment in time, the online bookmakers at this moment in time. But keep your messages coming, and I'll always pick out 3 or 4 every day to read back to folk. Thank you very much for watching. It's much appreciated. I tell you what, I think if I could get somebody to break my nose another way and put these glasses on right, folks, when you're watching these programs in the future, can you start watching them either like that or like that? Because if you do, my glasses will come straight. They look straight now. If I watch this back, which I won't, they're up there. I mean, that's how they look to me. They don't look like that to me now when I'm looking on it here. But if I watch it back, they're up there. I just don't get it at all. I broke it 3 times, by the way. It just doesn't sit well. It's not as bad as Steve Bruce's, but it's bad.